Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with RareGem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking Podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield, Director of Entrepreneur Development Services at the Center for Emerging Technologies.
And I am Cheryl Watkins-Moore, Director of Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion for BioSTL.
Well done.
Hello there.
Hi. So
back again.
Yes, and bringing our energy, as I've been instructed to do. So every time we come into the studio, you all know that we're trying to step outside of our comfort zone.
Which we are doing.
Yep, and invite you on the journey with us. So we want to help you take a closer look at your career and business in new ways. And together, we're going to take all those constraints off of how you view your current and future endeavors. You can join and stay connected with the Entrepreneurially Thinking community on all of your favorite streaming online platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, I don't even know. I hope it's not Streaker. Spreaker seems correct.
And you know, guys, we are following you, so keep checking us out.
Yes, we happen to love metrics.
Yes.
So when we release a new podcast, we're always looking to see how many folks are listening, and we're delighted that more than 2,000 people are.
Yes.
So you can find us at entrepreneuriallythinking.com. You can also use the hashtag ETHINKSTL.
Well, we are really excited today. Christy, I think we have a great show today. We're going to be speaking with Connie Bowen, who is the program manager at Yield Lab, Kristina Menn from Arvegenix, and Betsy Boedeker, senior research scientist and CRO Coordinator at St. Louis Community College.
I think she has a longer title than you.
I think so.
I like that.
So.
Makes me feel comfortable.
And the acronyms in here are cool too. So
yeah, we'll get to those because we don't leave anybody in the dark.
Exactly. So we're going to spend some time exploring business and training opportunities in the AgTech space, which for many of you guys, you know, when we talk about life science, we always seem to forget AgTech is a huge area and a growing area. So as we always say, there are so many ways to be part of the entrepreneurship and innovation community. This will be an opportunity to learn more. Connie is going to help us frame the big picture, AgTech business opportunities, and industry trends. Kristina is with us from Arvegenix, one of Yield Lab's portfolio companies, but perhaps more importantly, Kristina is a graduate of the St. Louis Community College Plant and Life Science Biotechnician Training Program, which Betsy administers. So much to learn. Can't wait to hear everyone's stories, which we'll do after this short break.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
According to Peter Handel, the CEO of Dale Carnegie Training Institute, here are 5 essential rules for great presentations. Number 1, be yourself. If you pose as somebody you're not, your audience will know you're insecure and therefore disbelieve whatever you're saying. 2, tell stories. The purpose of a presentation is not to convey information. You can do that with a data sheet. The purpose of a presentation is to show how the information has meaning for what you're doing. Number 3, practice. The very best public speakers make it seem as though the ideals are so new and original that the speaker is slightly surprised at what he or she is saying. 4, socialize. Audiences consist of individuals. Always arrive early and try to get to know some of the individuals in your audience that you're speaking to. And number 5, brevity. For every presentation that wrapped up too early, there are 1,000 that have gone on way too long. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
My name is Brandon Walker, owner and operator of Positive and Productive Innovations. Entrepreneurship to me is building your own brand, working diligently, and sacrificing all for yourself and your last name and your family's legacy and lineage.
Welcome, Connie, Kristina, and Betsy. I'm not even sure where to begin.
I mean, I think this is going to be a phenomenal show. So everybody, you know what? Stop what you're doing and listen, because this is some great information that
because we have thought of the story arc.
Yes.
And the journey we're looking to take today is really to kind of set the stage, big picture, what's going on in ag tech. That's why our Yield Lab friends are here today. Give us an idea of what they're seeing. And then really bring it home about what that means for opportunities in the St. Louis region, and then how you actually access those opportunities. Because we're always talking about the fact that you don't need to necessarily quit your job. You don't necessarily have to, uproot your family. You don't have to necessarily make a huge change in order to make a huge change. So we're gonna look at that a little bit more closely. So to get us started, Connie, perhaps you could set the stage for us on what you guys are seeing at Yield Lab and what some of those big ag tech, because I just love saying ag tech, what some big ag tech things are going on in the world.
But what does that mean?
Yeah, how would you define agricultural technology?
Sure. So we define agricultural technology pretty broadly. We kind of branch it off into a couple of subsectors. So crop production and optimization is one area we look at. Precision ag is really big right now. So image collection and data analysis.
So like really knowing exactly what's going on with each plant? Is that what we're like? What do you mean by precision?
So precision ag would be more taking the image and extracting data from that image so that you can say, oh, this area of my fields is dry right now, or this area is struck by disease, and you can do that without having to walk through the field. So this is where, like, when you hear of drones in agriculture and stuff, that's precision ag. Okay. But you can do it in a whole variety of different ways of just using sensors to monitor stuff. Yeah,
cool.
Another big area is waste reduction and repurposing, whether for biofuels or animal feed or really any way that we can minimize agricultural waste and repurpose it.
Very cool.
Another big area that we're focused in is animal health and sciences. That's a huge part of agriculture that sometimes gets a little bit overlooked, or sometimes there's separation between crop science and animal science. But at the Yield Lab, we do it all. We keep it all under that broad umbrella. And then there's also increasing focus on urban ag, so indoor agriculture, vertical ag. That's a little bit less the St. Louis area, where we are lucky to be a great place for row crops and more...
Surrounded by arable land.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Cool.
So, what's interesting, because your lab is new to St. Louis, less than 5 years old. So maybe you can help us understand what Yield Lab is. I know that came from Novus, who leads the organization. So maybe you can give us a little summary of, when you guys got started and what's going on.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, I kind of make a joke to my friends. A lot of my friends work for startups, so I like to say that I work for a startup that funds startups, which is kind of fun. So the Yield Lab,
place to be too.
Yes, yes.
She's a good friend
doling
to have.
the money out instead of begging for the money, right?
Well, both ends, right? But so the Yield Lab invests in ag tech companies. We invest in like 5 to 8 companies per year. So we're a venture capital firm as well as a business accelerator, and we're fairly unique in the space. There's not really a lot of ag tech accelerators. We were one of the first on the scene.
Yes.
And we invest we invest $100,000 in 5 to 8 companies every year. We run them through 9 months of programming, which is different. Like a lot of tech accelerators are really fat, like in a couple of weeks, compact programming. Ours is really spread out because plants take a while to grow, right? We have to take into account the industry.
Longer horizons.
Exactly. So, we do programming here in St. Louis, expose people to all of the wonderful resources here between Monsanto or Bayer, maybe I should say now, and Danforth Plant Science Center, and there's so many great things happening around St. Louis for agriculture. This is a great place for ag tech.
You guys I was there with that in Galway where you announced your newest.
Yeah, so we have a lot of exciting things happening with the Yield Lab. We're now in Galway, Ireland as well. Programming for that will take place in 2017. It'll be a pretty similarly run program, 6-month accelerator program there.
Now they're not just regional; they are international now.
Well, and bringing companies to the United States is always something that our region has been focused on in particular, about growing our entrepreneurial community by bringing folks in, not just from out of town with regard to the United States, but from really out of town, from different countries where...
Across the little pond.
Yes, just a tiny little body of water to really enhance the growth of our economy.
And I do want to clarify on that point that we don't make companies relocate here. We kind of are big on global ag and trying to get companies big and distributed. They don't need to be located in St. Louis to have a good point.
That is a very good point.
Yeah. Oh, and say that again. They don't have to be located in St. Louis.
They don't have to be located in St. Louis to have a good effect here.
Good point. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. One of the companies in your portfolio is Arvegenix, and Kristina Menn is here with us today. Kristina, did you ever think you would be in AgTech?
No, I didn't.
That's good. Me neither. So how did you get into AgTech?
Tell us your story.
I was working for an ophthalmology practice, and I had been there for quite a long time, and I started to feel that I had topped out, and there really wasn't much else for me to do. So I decided I wanted to go back to school. I wasn't sure if I wanted to follow a medical path or an environmental path, but I knew I wanted to do something science related. My company was nice enough to let me take off Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I started taking classes.
That's great.
At the community college, and I started doing that. It took a while. It took about 10 years because we were a two-income family, and once you get roped into that two-income family, and I had young kids at the time, I can't just stop and go to school, right? So I started taking classes. I got a couple of degrees.
You've really taken advantage of the community college systems, both here and in Illinois, correct?
Yes. Well, I live in Illinois, so Illinois was convenient. But after I had done everything at a community college level in Illinois, I to be honest, I jumped around a lot. I went to UMSL. I went to SIUE. I went to Lindenwood. I went to SWIC. And I'd kind of taken everything on a science level that I could take that was offered on a Tuesday or Thursday or offered in the evening. And I was not really sure what to do next. And I found the biotechnology program, and I'm just like, wow, this might work.
This is what I was looking for.
It was, because there's different, I'm sure Betsy will agree with this, there's different kind of learners. And I'm a hands-on learner.
Me too.
I can't
do that distance learning. I know it's really good and wonderful, but I don't learn that way.
And it works for some people, and that's great. But I have to do things. And that's what I liked about the biotechnology program, is it's hands-on.
There's stuff.
There's stuff. There is stuff.
Well, I think you've taught our listeners something. I mean, you know what? It's persistence. It might have taken you 10 years, but guess what? You found your way, and you found your way to, I think, a great program. So for all those people who think, it's going to take me forever, it might, but guess what? There is gold at the end of that rainbow. So stay in there. Find what your passion is, and it sounds like now you found your passion.
I did. I did not think I would. I had known that I wanted to do something environmental. I didn't really think that environmental would be agriculture, but with Arvegenix, I kind of get to do both.
So what is your job?
So my job is, I don't actually have an official title.
That's truly entrepreneurial.
It also means they can never get rid of her.
Exactly.
Because they don't know what she does.
Exactly.
So it must be indispensable.
My employee number is 1.
Okay.
I was their first hire.
So you switched careers. You pursued a different course of study than the one you had started with, and you were the first employee in on a startup.
Correct.
Pretty cool.
They came to Bridge Park. They were looking for office space, and I needed to do an internship. And they said, Betsy's like, hey, why don't you show them around? And so we kind of walked around a little bit, and I kind of probably got the job by default because I was the only one there. But
hey, whatever it takes. Opportunity
exactly.
met preparedness.
There you
That's
go.
Right.
You
That's
sold
right.
it.
So I do greenhouse plantings. I do all of their greenhouse plantings. from seed to seed. I do the plantings out in the field. I do the help harvesting out in the fields. Crossbreeding.
Wow.
The PhDs that run the company would come to me and say, what do you think would happen if we did this? Go do this experiment. And they turn me loose, and that's what I do.
Totally awesome.
That is. And you learn those skills at the program.
At the program, absolutely.
And that program we're talking of is the one that Betsy is affiliated with at the St. Louis Community College. And it has a long name. We like things with long names. So, and this program is the... Okay, where is it in my notes? Aha. And this program is the Plant and Life Sciences Biotechnician Training Program, but that's not the only thing going on there. So, Betsy, we've referenced you a few times now. Could you introduce yourself to us and tell us what it is you do at the college?
Absolutely. I run the contract research organization that the St. Louis Community College has established at the Bridge Park facility. And
that's the CRO we mentioned earlier. That's that acronym that comes on up. So Contract Research Organization.
And that is my main job responsibility is to run that. I work with a lot of the small companies in the region, from startups to medium-sized companies. And I definitely am in charge of all the internships for the biotechnology students that are coming through our biotech program. And so I coordinate a lot of those internships, and a lot of that involves assigning them out to companies like Arvegenix, and it's been a great relationship on both sides of that. And so with the programs, we have a lot of different things going on, but we've got a lot of outreach activities. This year, we've had a huge uptick in the amount of high school independent research that's happening on site.
Ooh, interesting.
And I'm overseeing a lot of that, and I do think a lot of that increase in interest is due to our educational specialist, Angela Taylor, who does a lot of middle school and high school outreach. And so she is in the schools all the time interacting with the kids, promoting science and STEM.
I think we just had a program with you guys with Diversity Awareness Partnership, and we brought high school students into the lab, and they did the strawberry DNA, which was fascinating.
They know the DNA of a strawberry?
Oh, yes, and you can actually extract it and look at it, so it's fascinating for a lot of our kids. They looked at it and they said, "This looks like," pardon the expression, snot.
It's biological. It's a biological reference, so it's all. But
good. It was really good. Yeah.
And I think that kind of speaks a little bit to what Christine was saying about the hands-on. And I think that a lot of what we do in education, especially at the high school level, we don't let them get their hands on stuff. And so I think it's really hard to get excited about something if you just barely understand it and you're not getting to touch it. And so our biotech program, which was established in 1999, it was one of the first biotechs in the state of Missouri. We developed that program with the feedback from industry on what it is they wanted a technician to have, what skills coming out. And we were very thoughtful about that. And so with that feedback from them, and we check in with those, we have advisory committee that kind of gives us feedback on the students that we are graduating. Are they coming out of the program with the skills that are needed? And the answer is yes. We have an incredibly high placement rate of our graduates in industry, and we're extremely proud of that.
And
okay.
I just want to say, and you probably want to say the same thing. I beat you to it this time. But so many folks think they have to have a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, multiple PhDs, a highly scientific background at the very least. And what I'm hearing you say is that the right associates program will get you into companies where your talent is in great demand.
I love the story. If you
and
can
we're getting
tell
head
us.
nods from Betsy. She's saying, yep.
Yes. I love the story. If you can fit this in about the gentleman who, got laid off from the auto industry, how he found you guys and what he's doing. So maybe you can talk to the audience about what's the background, or what do you have to have in order to apply to your program?
So our program is, I think it is daunting when people think about, oh, I want to go into science, but where do you start?
Right.
And I am definitely of the mindset that you do not need a PhD to be successful in this field.
Right.
I'm living proof of that. And so
she does have a degree in biology with a minor in mathematics. Concentration in mathematics.
Yes. And I do have a master's degree, which is what enables me to teach at the community college level. So our biotech program is, like I said, a very well thought out program, but it's a 2-year applied science degree, and it is 80% hands-on lab activities. And so we give you a lecture that gives you some very general information about the task at hand for the evening. And then we go in the lab and we actually do it. And so the classes are 4-hour blocks, and so it's a long class, but it is incredible what people come out of our program knowing. And I joke with my students that the stuff that they learn in this biotech program is stuff I didn't learn until I was in grad school. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of gives you an idea of the kind of technical training that they're receiving. That's
fantastic.
Yeah.
And I want to talk more about that training program as well as what you're seeing in terms of demand for talent in our industry, in our region, I should say, in just a moment.
Meet the ambassadors.
When I interact with somebody, I can think of it beyond just like, oh, this person is exhausting me, or this person is making me uncomfortable, or what is going on with this person, to having more compassion as I'm interacting with them. And I think that it's so important that as long as you're interacting with people, this information is going to be very valuable.
If you're interested in being a part of Alive and Well STL and helping continue the conversation, please take 5. Log on to aliveandwellstl.com.
Hello, my name is Zim. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cronus Sleep. Entrepreneurial thinking, to me, means taking the opportunity to reflect and grow.
So, Betsy, you were talking to us about the program and the demand that you're seeing in the marketplace for talent. So I would imagine that the community college has more than just one bioscience or biotech program. What might I be able to find there if I'm looking for my next step?
So I definitely want to clarify about the program too. So we have the 2-year applied science, but we definitely have a large number of students that come to us that have completed a 4-year bachelor's degree in biology or a life science.
Okay.
And they actually have a lot of trouble securing employment because they don't have any lab skills.
The hands-on piece.
Exactly. And so because the focus at a 4-year is very different than what we do in technical training. Yes. And so we do have a 1-year certificate in biotechnology, which allows them with their life science degree to come in and complete that 1-year training and just flush out their resume with tons of lab skills. And then they end up with a job at the end of that usually. So
and
it's
that is,
great.
I think, what is so different about your program, because you're getting the real life experience and then being able to take that and the story I was referencing with this gentleman who he got downsized in the auto industry, came to your program, and maybe you want to speak to that.
Sure. He did struggle a little bit initially, but he was a very hard worker, and he was committed to changing where he was in his life, and he worked very hard, and he successfully made it through the program and ended up over at the Danforth Center, and I believe he's in charge of their core facility now for cell culture or tissue culture, and they love him over there.
And you're talking about changing people's trajectories, and they're not only for themselves but their families. Absolutely. When you talk about, and I want our listeners to understand this. I mean, if you are working in a job right now where it might be something that's not as fruitful as what you might want it to be, here's an opportunity to really look at getting into a new experience and being able to elevate, what your family's trajectory could be in a very short period of time.
And I also think people then change how they see themselves. We can say, well, I'm not a science person or I'm not a math person. And then if you can actually let go of that, you may in fact be a science and a math person.
And companies
and many other things as well.
And companies are looking for people who have the skills. Just like, Kristina, you were talking about, what you got from that program and where it's propelled you. What advice would you give to someone out there who is struggling with some of the same things you were thinking about as you were looking at career pivots?
I think the biggest advice I would give is that you have to be patient. You can't, if you're like, I'm considered a non-traditional student because of my age. If you're raising kids and you have a household and you have a full-time job, but you want something else, you just have to be patient. And you have to see that goal, and just steps towards that goal are better than no steps at all.
Right.
And you have to be, and I guess the other advice I would give is that you have to be flexible. Sometimes you may need to take a class that's probably not the first choice that you would want to take, but take it because it's in that general, how do I want to say this? You may need it later.
Yes.
If you're going for a science degree and it's a science class, take it.
It's in your toolbox. It's something that you can pull out of your toolbox. That you can use.
Especially if you're not really sure, like I wasn't. I wasn't really sure where I was going with this. I just knew I wanted to get a biology degree or a biotechnology degree or whatever. That's what I knew I wanted. So anything that was related to that, whether I thought I was going to need it later or not, I was going to take it.
Well, it's interesting because when we look at STEM jobs, and here in the region, the St. Louis Community College does a wonderful report every 2 years about, where are the jobs in St. Louis? And STEM jobs are plentiful. We just don't have the numbers of people to fill them. So,
which is why that pipeline piece is so important. The work you, BioSTL does with DAP, the work I'm hearing that the St. Louis Community College does with the middle school and high school students, that these are opportunities. When I was in middle school or high school, this wasn't on my radar at all.
And I think, going back to Connie, to talk about, what are those opportunities and what's the industry looking like? You guys are on the cutting edge because you're investing in a lot of these startups that are on the cutting edge. Where is AgTech going? I mean, we heard about drone technology. I'm sure people know satellite technology is being utilized. What are some of the other pieces? Because it's not I always say this, it's not your grandfather's farming anymore that's being done, right?
Yeah. Sure. So I guess there's, like I said, it's so wide and varied. It doesn't really matter. Like you were saying, the science math person thing before, you can be any kind of a, disciplined person. And
that's reassuring.
There's a space for you in ag tech, I would say, for sure. Other big things, with CRISPR and assorted CRISPR-Cas9 and different technologies for genetic modification, that's huge. That's going to be transformative in agriculture. We're already seeing it, and it will continue to be. And just in a general kind of sense of sustainability, right? The Yield Lab is all about sustainable agriculture. And as we see our populations global population growing, we have more mouths to feed. And, with global projections, any kind of technology that makes food more available to people is going to continuously be something that is economically valuable.
So if you're in the IT space, and that's what, here we go, when we talk about how occupations are blending and exactly. So if you're in IT and you're in a space that, hey, I'm bored in this particular job that I'm working in, here's a great opportunity to explore, because a lot of the technologies are looking at integrating advanced manufacturing, IT.
Just think about the volumes of data being accumulated by drones that are taking pictures of parts of farms, and then we don't even know yet how to use all of that data.
So for folks who have the great background and skills and you're looking for something different, here's an opportunity to really get engaged.
Right, and it's also interdisciplinary, that if you have that coding background, that's super valuable because like I said, precision ag and data analysis is huge, but then that lends itself to marketing and advertising, right? Because that data can be used for that. Or there's so many applications of all this different information that we're now figuring out. First, companies that kind of acquire the data, and then so there's space there, and then there's space to figure out what to do with that data once you've got it.
And on the regulatory side, because I know regulatory is lagging, just like so if you have a regulatory background, a legal background, a strategy background. If you even just know how to
work with government.
Exactly. You know? Because it is impactful. So going back to now, Betsy, with your program, what would you advise individuals? How to find you? You know, what are the things that you can offer for individuals that might be exploring?
Sure. So the requirements of the biotechnology program is that you're required to take 2 advanced topics courses. And so while the core curriculum is pretty much set, I think the advanced topics offers students an opportunity to kind of specialize more in what they're interested in. And so just to kind of give you some idea of what we have as specialties, we've got a bioprocessing class that's taught by industry people. We've got a quantitative PCR class that's actually coming up this spring. That's one that I developed for the college. We've got one on proteomics, and we've got one on RNA interference, and so there's just a wide variety, including one on bioinformatics when we're talking about this intersection of all these different technologies. Bioinformatics is huge. It's going to never go away because all we have is more and more data, and we need ways to understand it and process it.
So when you talk about proteomics, because a lot of our listeners are going, what is she talking about?
Yeah, she's using big words.
It's dealing with, you're talking about one aspect of science, which is protein-based science. Genomics is when you're in, you go ahead and explain.
So, we're looking at things, genetically, we're looking at the DNA, but when we're talking about proteomics, we're talking about what are the products of those DNA expressions, and so the proteomics is really focused on that. It's looking at what kind of proteins are being expressed and how can you alter that. So it is science. It's science being applied, So that's great. Yeah, and so if they wanted to find out more information about the biotech program, they can go to the website, which is stlcc.edu, and they can just put biotechnology in the search box, and it'll take you to the biotech page. Including Jennifer Hill is the biotech coordinator, and all her contact information can be found there.
Fantastic. Right. On the flip side, what kind of companies are you seeing come out of this opportunity? We were talking before how Kristina is employee number 1 in a startup. Are you seeing lots of startups, or are you seeing a lot of established companies branching into new things, or all of the above?
Yeah. Pretty much all of the above. And I think that, I have like a really kind of unique seat running the contract research organization, because we do lab uses so that people can come in and use our equipment. Which is hugely beneficial to a startup company. Yes. And but we get lots of lab uses with larger companies too. But one of the companies that started with us, not unlike Arvegenix actually, is I don't know if you guys have heard of New Leaf Symbiotics.
Yeah.
But they started in our lab space.
Yes, I heard about that.
Look where they are now.
Yes.
And they're employing, I think they're up to 35 people now. And so, we see them all different kinds. We see the startups, we see larger companies that, but they're all interested. I think as the word gets out, they're very interested in working with us and working with our students. And it's about the people and trying to make sure that you're placing the students in
I was going to ask you, what's your placement rate?
So we actually have a 94% placement rate of our graduates.
Can you say that again?
94%.
Wow.
Wow.
Nobody does 94% of anything.
I know. We hardly can believe it ourselves, but we're very proud of that statistic because it shows you that at the end of it, there is a need for more workforce, and we need to really get that moving better.
And that also strikes, a lot of times we talk about who needs a college education? Where does a college education get you? How much debt do you go into to do all this? What the 94% says to me is this has real world practical implications that come with a paycheck.
Exactly.
Right? And, when you're trying to evaluate those opportunities and see where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, that speaks volumes.
And I think for folks who are, if you are in the same place that Kristina was in, now you have an opportunity to go to school, not for like 15 years, but you have a finite period of time in school, and then you can start earning revenue. If you want to go back to school and earn additional degrees or whatever, that it gives you the opportunity and the freedom to do that.
And it's the technical training. What I heard was that was technical training, which sometimes I think we discount.
Yes.
We think of degree equating to a certain type of job, but also what Betsy's telling us is that the employers need the technical, the technician.
I was a biology
technical
major.
Skill.
You come out as a biology major, you better be. I went to medical school because I knew I can't come out.
Is that like having an English degree and going to law school?
It's like having a biology degree and people was like,
and nobody's going to
nice.
employ it. Exactly. I don't see any job listing for English major, and I don't see any job listing for biologist.
So here's an opportunity to leverage that.
And I do think too that, and I'm going to think back on my own career. I've been at this for a few years now, but I think the landscape has changed tremendously too. And I think before you needed a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, where I don't think that's going to be the case. And I think, especially, we're such an economical. We're $106 a credit hour. You are not going to do better than that.
Exactly. I might be going back. I'm just telling you.
Me too.
And I think there's going to be a lot more availability in the workforce for somebody with an applied science degree.
Well, I think you spoke volumes. Companies are buying off on this because they need people who have skills.
Yep. Right.
We know that. It goes back to the community colleges report. If you don't have the skills, they're looking at, what am I going to do with you? I need people that can help help to develop that product and move it. So
Kristina, how has your company grown since you joined them as employee number one?
Employee number one.
Because also people are very skittish about startups, right?
Yep.
It's an unknown quantity in a lot of ways.
Correct. So we were founded in 2013. 3 former Monsanto gentlemen. Our area is we specialize in pennycress, which is right now considered a weed, but by what we're doing in the greenhouse, we're getting to that point where we can take it out of the weed category and make it a cover crop.
Oh, awesome.
The seeds have a really high concentration of oil, so it makes an excellent aviation fuel, and it makes a good diesel fuel. And what I think is amazing is that it's a winter crop. So it fits perfectly. We can plant it in the fall over corn, and it grows over the winter, and it comes up in the spring, and we harvest in the spring before a farmer plants his soybeans.
Wow. So it's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win. We're not competing for food acreage. The field is sitting there empty anyway. It gives the farmer another opportunity for another crop. Yeah. We are now at, off the top of my head, we're up to about 12 or 14 people.
Wow, that's nice growth.
We have consultants, farmers that we consult with or whatever, and we've hired more research and development people who, we have a gentleman who specializes in soil health.
Yep.
So, he does that, and we have somebody who's very technical as far as DNA and that kind of stuff. So he's, so we've picked people mostly from the biotech program who are very good at one aspect of the job or another, and we kind of have divvied up a little bit, and I think we're up to about 12 or 14 people.
That's a testament to you, Betsy.
And a testament, I think, to our ecosystem. Yes. When folks who are technically proficient, which it sounds like the founders of this company are, they still need a support. And they, as we mentioned before, Yield Lab this company is actually part of Yield Lab's portfolio. So, it's a virtuous circle. When you've got the right people with the right idea at the right time, you get the right talent through the technical training program, you get the right resources in terms of the accelerator, not only the money, but the programming. This is a perfect storm sitting around the table talking to you all today.
This is exactly what the region needs, because when we're looking at making sure that our folks here in our region not only they live, work, play. They stay here and they work.
And they learn.
Yes.
Live, work, play, learn.
Yes. Yes. So this fits, because you're teaching the technical skills. You guys from Yield Lab are looking at all these companies coming up and investing in them and being able to hire great people. So this is like what do they call that? I
think it's a virtuous circle.
No, it's the Lion King thing. When that
circle of life.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her quizzically because I'm wondering if she's going to break into song. That would be a first.
No.
Okay. Fair enough. So we know where to find Betsy and more information about the program. Can you give us that website one more time?
So it's the St. Louis Community College website, and that is stlcc.edu, and just search under biotechnology, and all the information regarding the program, and the coordinator of that program is Jennifer Hill. All her contact information is right there on that page.
2017 is coming, so make a pledge to yourselves. If you want to find a new opportunity, go on that website.
Absolutely. Kristina has told us we need persistence.
Yes.
We need patience.
Yes.
And we need a bit of grit. Yes. I would think as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. And Connie, can you take us out by making sure that if we have an AgTech entrepreneur out there, they know where to find Yield Lab?
Sure. You can check us out on our website, theyieldlab.com.
Perfect. We like that. Thank you so much for being with us. We really enjoyed the conversation, and we wish you all a wonderful day.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's entrepreneurially thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.